All right, so today we're diving deep into reversing prediabetes, and we're taking cues from Dr. Neha Chawla. You might know her as the Strong Doc online. She's got this really interesting and research-backed approach.
Yeah, and what's really cool about Dr. Chawla's approach is she doesn't just give these generic diet tips. Like she really focuses on four, I guess you could call them, pillars of blood sugar regulation, of body composition, muscle health, overall metabolic function, and even, get this, gut health.
Okay, four pillars. I like it. So let's start with body composition. We hear a lot about the number on the scale, but Dr. Chawla, she kind of pushes past that, right?
Absolutely. She's all about body fat percentage, but specifically this thing called visceral fat. Because, see, it's not just about how much fat you have, it's where it is. And that visceral fat, the stuff around your organs, that's the one that really messes with your insulin resistance. And when your insulin resistance is out of whack, well, it makes regulating your blood sugar a lot harder.
So less visceral fat. Got it. But here's where I get hopeful. Dr. Chawla talks about how even losing a little bit of weight can make a difference, like just 5 to 7%. That feels doable.
It is doable. And to track that progress, think outside the bathroom scale. Things like DXA scans can give you a much more detailed picture of what your body composition actually looks like.
Write that down, folks. DXA scans. I'm taking notes. Okay, but let's talk about something else Dr. Chawla calls our secret weapon against prediabetes: muscle.
And it's true. Muscle isn't just about, looking good. It actually plays a huge role in how our bodies use glucose. The more muscle you have, the better your blood sugar control tends to be.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
So how do we build these amazing blood sugar busting muscles? What does Dr. Chawla suggest?
Protein. It's all about the protein. She recommends about 1 to 2.2 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight each day. So that's, your protein target to help build that muscle.
Okay, 1 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Definitely writing that one down. But it's not just diet.
No, you got to move those muscles too. Dr. Chawla recommends resistance training at least a couple times a week. Lift some weights, use your body weight, anything to challenge those muscles and help them grow.
Interesting. And this is where she surprised me because Dr. Chawla is very much into that kind of natural approach, but she actually recommends creatine supplementation in some cases.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. She's all about the holistic, food-first approach. But she also recognizes that creatine can be a helpful tool, especially when it comes to building muscle and even potentially improving your insulin sensitivity.
So it's not just about restrictions, it's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. And get this, studies have actually shown that combining resistance training with higher protein intake, it can actually improve both your insulin sensitivity and your body composition. And that's a win-win in my book.
Okay, see, that's the kind of science I like. So we've talked body composition, we've pumped some metaphorical iron. What's next on Dr. Chawla's list?
Time to fine-tune that metabolism.
Metabolism. Okay, I gotta be honest. I always get a little nervous when we start talking about metabolism because I think we're about to cut out all the carbs.
No, not at all. Dr. Chawla isn't about deprivation. She's all about choosing the right carbs, those whole grains, instead of the refined stuff, so you can keep your energy stable.
Makes sense, makes sense. So what are some of the carb strategies that she recommends?
Well, she talks about choosing low to moderate GL foods, and she even mentions this thing called carb cycling. But she really stresses that it's important to work with, like a registered dietitian or a certified diabetes educator when you're figuring those out.
It's always good to have an expert in your corner.
100%.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, right? So you really want to figure out what works for your body and your goals with a professional.
That makes a lot of sense. So we're choosing our carbs carefully, but what about other areas of metabolic health? Healthy fats probably play a role here too, right?
For sure. Dr. Chawla is all about adding those healthy fats, things like avocados, nuts, olive oil, that kind of thing. And she also mentions time-restricted feeding as being potentially beneficial.
Yeah, the whole eating window idea. I've heard about that.
Exactly. I don't want to get too deep into that right now. It can get a bit complicated. But the main takeaway is that there are a lot of ways to support your metabolic health.
And remember, everyone, knowledge is power. But before making any big changes to your diet, talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian.
Definitely. They can help make sure you're making the best choices for you.
Okay, so before we leave the topic of metabolism behind, Dr. Chawla also talks about the importance of some key micronutrients.
Yes, she talks about vitamin D and magnesium. Both of these are really important for healthy glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity.
Okay, so we're getting enough of those. Now, this next part, this is the part that I didn't really expect. Dr. Chawla talks about this connection between Wait for it. Gut health and blood sugar. Gut health and blood sugar, huh? That's not a connection I'd really thought about before.
It's pretty wild, right? It
No.
all comes down to your gut microbiome, all those trillions of little bacteria hanging out in your gut. It turns out that a really healthy and diverse microbiome can actually help your body manage blood sugar.
So how do we get in on this? Are we talking probiotics, kombucha, all the fermented foods? Give me all the gut healthy tips.
Dr. Chawla keeps it pretty simple, actually. She's a big fan of adding fermented foods into your diet. So think like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, all that good stuff. It's packed with beneficial bacteria that can help diversify your microbiome.
So fermented foods, good for the gut, good for blood sugar, two birds, one stone. I like it. Anything else we can do?
Good old-fashioned fiber is super important here. It's like a prebiotic. Basically, it feeds all that good bacteria in your gut so it can thrive.
Okay, so we're upping our fermented food intake. We're getting more fiber. This is good. This is manageable. As we're going through all this, from body composition to building muscle to fine-tuning our metabolism, now gut health, it really does feel like a holistic approach, like it all kind of fits together.
That's what's so great about Dr. Chawla's approach. It's not about just focusing on one thing and ignoring everything else. She wants us to see how everything is connected, how all these different systems in our bodies are constantly talking to each other.
And that's why these four pillars work so well together. You make a change in one area, and it can have a ripple effect on all the others.
Exactly. And the best part is you don't have to do everything at once. You don't have to be perfect. Dr. Chawla really emphasizes consistency over perfection.
That is such an important reminder. It's so easy to get overwhelmed when you feel like you have to change your entire life overnight.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Chawla is all about those small, sustainable changes that you can stick with for the long haul. No crazy restrictions, no quick fixes, just gradual progress towards better metabolic health.
So for anyone listening who's feeling a little overwhelmed, just take a breath. Every step you take towards a healthier lifestyle is a win in my book. Start small. Maybe this week you add more whole grains to your diet, or an extra serving of veggies at dinner, or maybe try that new fermented food you've been eyeing.
Yeah, and don't underestimate the power of adding in some strength training. Even a couple of sessions a week can make a huge difference in your insulin sensitivity and overall health. And you don't need a gym membership either. Bodyweight exercises at home are just as effective.
Love that. Find what works for you and make it a part of your routine. Now, before we wrap things up with Dr. Chawla, I want to come back to something she said that really stuck with me. She's all about tracking our progress, but looking beyond just the number on the scale, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She wants us to remember that health is about so much more than just how much we weigh.
Right. So she talks about paying attention to our HbA1c levels, our body composition, even our strength gains. It's about recognizing all these amazing things happening in our bodies and celebrating all those victories, even the ones the scale doesn't show us.
Exactly. It's totally possible to be getting stronger and healthier, even if the scale isn't moving as much as you'd like.
Yeah.
And those are huge wins worth celebrating.
Non-scale victories. I love that. And again, it goes back to that holistic approach that Dr. Chawla is all about. It's not just about weight loss. It's about building a better relationship with your body, making sustainable changes, and really embracing progress in all its forms.
And remember, everyone's journey is different. What works for one person might not work for another. So be patient with yourself, listen to your body, and don't be afraid to experiment a little to find what works best for you.
And if you're ever feeling stuck or unsure about where to turn, reach out to a qualified healthcare professional for guidance. They can help personalize these strategies and create a plan that really works for you and your goals.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's all about giving yourself the knowledge and the tools to take action and then celebrating those victories, big and small, along the way. You got this.
It really is amazing when you think about it, right? Progress isn't just about fitting into smaller jeans. It's about all the incredible stuff going on inside.
For sure. You know that HbA1c test we talked about? That gives you this overview of your blood sugar levels over time, like a report card, but for your blood sugar.
And those body composition measurements, those are cool too, because it's not just about what you weigh. It can actually show you if you're gaining muscle and losing fat, even if the number on the scale hasn't really changed much.
Yeah, it's like finding these hidden wins. You could be getting stronger and healthier, even if it doesn't look like it on the outside.
Exactly. And speaking of strength, let's not forget about those gains. Whether you're hitting the gym or just working out at home, keeping track of your strength, how much you're lifting, that kind of thing, it can be incredibly motivating. Because tangible proof that you're getting stronger, even if the scale is being a little stubborn.
Love it. Got to celebrate those non-scale victories. It really all comes back to that holistic approach we talked about. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about fostering a healthier relationship with your body and, being open to different types of progress.
It's about the bigger picture. So as we wrap up our deep dive here, the question I want to leave you with is this. What really resonated with you today? And what's one tiny step you can take this week to, prioritize your metabolic health?
Write it down. Better yet, tell a friend, keep yourself accountable, and be kind to yourself along the way. Every step counts, no matter how small.
You've got this. And there you have it, our deep dive into reversing prediabetes with the amazing Dr. Neha Chawla. Until next time, happy diving.